IVM.
Hey, if you like this show, then you should definitely check out another show on the IVM podcast network called Paisa Vaisa. It's a show hosted by Anupam Gupta that will clear all your personal finance doubts, from mutual funds to loans to SIPs. New episodes are out every Monday.
Hello and welcome to episode number 136 of IVM Likes. My name is Abbas. I'm in the studio with my fellow IVM staffers Darus.
What's up?
And Antariksh.
Hey!
And Saishi is in the studio, but you will not hear her because she has decided to take on the professional role of a producer for this episode. IVM Likes is a show, in case you have never heard one of our previous 135 episodes. Firstly, do that. But in case you've never heard it, IVM is the podcast network, India's premier podcasting network. And IVM Likes is a show where the staffers of IVM recommend you some cool stuff that they have been experiencing, watching, reading. And in the second half, we take one topic, we deep dive into it, and we discuss it in further detail. Today, we will be talking about one of the most prolific Hollywood directors of our time, at least, if not all time, Quentin Tarantino. We'll talk a bit about his recent movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
And we will rate our favorite Tarantino films. But before that, in the first half, let's quickly do a round of recommendations. So, who wants to go first? Antariksh, you want to go first?
Yep, sure. Hey guys, my recommendation this week is a YouTube channel. It's a musician and rapper. I don't know why I differentiated that. I'm sure rappers are also musicians.
Yeah. The Venn diagram overlaps.
It's a channel called Hovey Benjamin. Hovey is spelled with a V.
Okay.
And this guy is a comedy musical rapper, I would say.
Okay.
Makes amazing beats for his videos and his songs. And just some really funny songs. I think I showed you a couple of songs yesterday. And like some really fun, like especially for the Indian audience, we will absolutely love this guy because this guy has a song called Send Bobs.
And if you're an Indian male, you know exactly what Bob refers to.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And veganas. Bobs and veganas. In the song. Some really funny songs, dude. Like he has a song called Past My Prime, where some kids throw a basketball at him and he has to throw it back. And the song goes, "Hey, I just realized something. I'm past my athletic prime," because the ball just goes over them.
Right.
So he's like, so at the end of that verse, he's like, but well, I think I still got my sexual prime. Let me double check that online. According to Cosmo magazine, I sexually peaked at 18. I'm past my sexual prime. So now he's just
memorized these songs.
Yeah, dude. Literally, I've been listening to this guy for 5 days.
There's like a lot of great music out there, but
I know,
you chose.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely, I think this guy should be doing a lot better on YouTube because he has only 70k followers. And
He
he's doing it for like
seems
4 years.
to be someone who's similar to like the Weird Al Yankovic kind of
I would say like
genre.
more kind of Lonely Island.
Like a Little Dicky, like kind of
Little
rapper.
Dicky. Correct. Exactly. Yeah, like Little Dicky.
I have no idea who Lil Dicky is.
He's just a small
Again, I
rapper.
found out Little Dicky because of this guy. Normally it would work the other way around because Little Dicky
was
has
it
like some 6 million
while
followers.
listening to Sexual Prime? What up? No? Okay.
Little Dicky should make a song on Bob's and Vegania. That way, all three of them are
Vegania. We're just diversifying the word
We
now.
are Frenchifying the word. Oh, we're gone.
But what is his song called? The one Send
Bobs.
Send Bobs. So,
And another song which is really great is...
no, but I just want to talk about, so Antariksh played it for me yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's literally, the guy has taken real comments by Indian guys who slide into DMs
and made them
of
rhyme.
girls, and he's just made a song out of it.
Yeah, and it's
and
great.
those screenshots actually play on screen while he's singing those
and
lines.
actually a catchy song.
Yeah, it's a
great,
which is even worse.
That's now stuck in your head, dude.
I don't know whether I feel proud as an Indian that he's taking inspiration from us to make this song,
But this guy isn't Indian, right?
He's not.
He's not Indian. Okay. So you think he should have way more than 70,000 subscribers?
Man, for sure.
Let's get
Without a
T-Series. All the fans of T-Series.
Is
to
his
listen to
music available on like iTunes and Spotify?
I actually
and
haven't
stuff?
checked. I just checked him out on Instagram today morning. I think he has like quite a lot, more than 20k followers.
Okay.
But again, he should be doing a lot better than that.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he's just bad at self-marketing or something. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. But maybe he'll be huge in like the coming
For sure. I
years.
actually see that happening. For sure.
All right. So what's the channel called again?
Hovey Benjamin.
Can you just spell that?
Hovey.
Okay.
Hovey Benjamin. Benjamin spells
All
as
right.
Benjamin spells.
Cool. Hovey Benjamin, please check out Send to Bob.
Send Bob's.
Send Bob's show again.
Also a song called Astrology. I'm Sitting Harder Than You. Some great songs.
Antariksh playlist essentially is what he's recommending.
Yep.
Cool. What do you have, Darus?
For this episode, I have a game.
Okay.
It's by Catch App, sorry, pun
Okay.
intended. And they have made a game called Two Cars.
Okay.
Two Cars is basically a game where they have 4 lanes and it's 2 cars, but it's single player.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
wait. 2 cars, 4 lanes, but single player.
But single player.
Okay.
So you're controlling 2 cars at the same time.
Alright.
So you use the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain at the same time.
Okay.
So it's a big stress buster, that's what they say. But
From what I gather, the right side of your brain is creative and the left side is logical.
Or is it the other way around?
No, I'm pretty sure the right side is creative and the left side is logical.
I have no clue.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So basically you got to use the 2 sides of your brain,
Got
the
it.
creative and the logical side.
Got it.
And the game is very simple. There are just these squares, which are blocks on the way, and there are circles. You have to catch the circles and avoid the squares while driving 2 cars at the same time. So in case you want to get refresh your mind.
But this actually is using both sides of your brain, because if you're tapped into one side of the brain, wouldn't just use one side of the brain.
Do you mean both sides of your screen?
Both sides of the screen by using 2 sides of your brain.
I mean, your brain has to multitask essentially.
On both sides. So you could say...
And you're still
it's
playing
an
one game. So
ambient-
it's a
Still
single
playing one
task.
game, yes.
You could say it's an
But
ambient
I kind of
exercise.
see that because
It's a multiplayer game for one player.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
but
player one
I
and
can
player
see
two.
where the creative angle comes in because, like you said, squares and circles are shapes, right? So I
Oh,
guess,
yes, that makes sense.
yeah. So
Yeah, it is a bit
geometrical
confusing.
shapes.
Sometimes I hit a square thinking it's a circle.
So, but I'm assuming.
I can't tell, is that a joke? Or is that true?
No, it is true.
Okay.
I'm assuming the circles and squares are different for different lanes and for
No,
both.
they're all the same. So
All the
there-
same.
There are 4 lanes, and there'll be squares and circles on either lane. And
Exactly,
the thing with the game is that if you miss a circle, you have to collect all the circles basically.
Right.
If you miss one circle, the game's over. So you have to
Damn.
make sure that you get all your circles.
And what happens when you get all of them?
It's just a continuous
Wow,
game.
It's an endless
more,
run.
more
It's a-
circles and squares.
Oh.
The game just speeds up, and you just make a high score and just brag it about to your
okay.
friends.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. What's the game called?
It's called 2 cars, yeah.
What is your favorite endless runner games? Do you have others? Do you like endless runners?
I'm
not a
still-
big
I'm
fan.
still,
I'll get
uh,
I used to
in-
play a lot of Subway
Subway
Surfers.
Yeah,
Surfers,
Subway
yeah,
Surfers seems to be
probably,
like the
correct.
like the winner there.
Also that Temple.
Temple Run
Run.
used to be
Yeah,
the
people-
thing
yeah, right.
once upon a time, but I guess
Yeah.
temples just you just
Suck.
got you got bored of temples. Also, there was Antariksh saying temples suck. That's not a opinion
but
held
I
by.
can say it, Abbas. You can't. Sorry.
Okay then. Where were we? Oh yeah, 2 cars. So anything
cars.
else you want to say about what cars are these? Like
These are just your normal...
Do they at least update the cars with various levels?
That's what you wouldn't get from the game. You would just get a normal blue and a red car. That's it.
Oh, okay. Okay. At least
Very basic, very minimalistic.
Right.
The thing that they added in the game is that they added the music, which kinda is a meditative.
You mean they don't play Send Bobs?
They
in
don't
the
play
background?
Sandbox, no. This is more
It's very
like
meditative.
very
Okay.
soothing kind of music in a very stressful environment. So
Oh, that's
it's a very
interesting.
yeah.
See, now it makes more sense, the left and right side of the brain.
Yeah.
It's meditative, but
Correct.
you have to be
But-
competitive.
Yeah.
Also, though I would argue that Send Bob's is very meditative as well.
Okay, cool. And this is available on
This is
Android.
on Android, iOS, everywhere. So
Cool.
check it out.
All right, so 2 cars is the recommendation from Darus. And I'll round it up with my recommendation. So today I have a very low engagement TV show to recommend.
Okay.
It's a show called Funny You Should Ask. All the episodes are on YouTube. It's a very straightforward game show. There are 2 contestants. There is a host. The host asks general knowledge questions to the contestants, but they don't have to answer it. To answer the questions, you have a panel of 6 comedians. All right.
wow.
The questions are asked to them, and they just have to guess if it's true or false. But they don't just do that, okay? So they get the question, they crack a few jokes about the question, and then they give their opinion whether they think it's true or false.
Okay.
And then the contestants just have to agree or disagree with their answer.
Like, is it like a Comedy Central show? What is this?
It's kind of a Comedy Central show, but it's for YouTube. Like, it's exclusive for YouTube. The comedians on the panel, actually pretty famous comedians. You have Gabriel Iglesias, Tiffany Haddish, what's the Moshe Kasher's wife?
Natasha Leggero.
Natasha Leggero is on one of the episodes. Many of the comics are people who've done like side roles in Friends and How I Met Your Mother. You may not know them by name, but you'll identify their faces.
Nice.
So it's a very fun, like you can have it playing in the background while you're checking your phone or whatever. It's essentially, they give you the setup with the questions, the comedians crack the punchlines, then they give an answer about, so you're getting to know general knowledge, yet at the same time you're getting some jokes. And yeah, if the contestant is correct, they win a bit of money. And then there's a showdown round where the whole thing, so instead of two, the higher scorer then goes to the final round, and then the whole thing kind of happens in a more rapid fire way.
Nice. How long is each episode?
18 to 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And they're all on YouTube.
They're all on YouTube. The channel is called Funny You Should Ask.
And who's the host?
The host is a game show guy. I don't remember his name. He's just
not a comedian or a comedian?
Not a comedian, but he gets well along. Like the back and forth with the host is
it Drew Carey?
It's not Drew Carey. I was about to say, like, think of Whose Line Is It Anyway, but instead of improv games, it's a proper game show.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah.
Wow, you just dissed Whose Line Is It Anyway?
No, I didn't. I mean, I'm like, it's not an improv show. They're not doing scenes.
I don't care, but I'm just speaking for the other Whose Line
Whose Line rocks, guys. It's a evergreen recommendation from me. Whose Line Is It Anyway? Whether it's Drew Carey version or Aisha Tyler's version.
You like the Aisha Tyler version?
I do. It took a while for it to grow on me.
But would you still like Drew Carey back?
I would.
See?
So have you seen the Drew Carey's Improvaganza?
I love it.
Yeah.
Seen all of it.
It's amazing.
Have you seen Drew Carey's The Green Room?
No, is it just become a Drew Carey? It's a
basically-
Drew Carey off now. Have you seen Drew Carey? No, what's this show?
Have you seen The Price Is Right, though? That's also
That's pretty awful, actually.
As long as it's not hard on my wallet, the price is always right.
Spoken like a true artist, yes.
What's Drew Carey's Green Room about?
It's the same show, like what they would do at Improvaganza in front of a live audience. But they are doing it in a green screen, like in front of a green screen. So what they do is they'll shoot the entire episode and then hand it off to whatever, like some artists who will then animate everything that they're acting out. Like if this guy's acting like a cowboy, these guys will animate a cowboy and it's hilarious.
No costume budget.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very well done.
So it's like if in the scene they talk about a dinosaur, they'll actually animate
the dinosaur.
Got it. Cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, so check it out.
Yeah.
Nice to get recommendations while you're recommending.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's my recommendation. Funny You Should Ask. It's a very funny show. Check it out. And with that, we will recap our recommendations. Antariksh, you recommended?
Hovey Benjamin. Hovey Benjamin on YouTube.
Darus.
We've known each other for so long, Abbas.
Yeah, I blanked out for a minute. I should play more Two Cars, which you recommended. And
Two Cars by Ketchup on Android and iOS.
Yeah. And my recommendation, of course, Funny You Should Ask. Cool. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we will talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and we will list our favorite Tarantino films. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you are not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And also, just a reminder, if you like what you're listening to, take a screenshot of what you're listening to and tag us on social media, and we will repost your post. Also, please do tell a friend if you're enjoying a podcast which you think a friend would enjoy. Do tell them. I think that is something that really helps us. I think that we do see, increases in listenerships when you guys do that. So please do tell friends that you are enjoying what podcast you're listening to. Last week, we launched a new show called Agla Station Adulthood with best friends Ritasha Rathod and Ayushi Amin. They talk about their journey into adulthood. On the first episode, they discuss crushes and female friendships. And on this week's episode, they try to crack the code on how to adult. You can also catch Ritasha and Ayushi on This Week Cyrus Says, where they talk to Cyrus about the podcast, what constitutes acting like a grown-up, and Ritasha gives Cyrus detailed instructions to reach Mud Island. On The Scene and the Unseen, Amit Verma is in conversation with economist Mohit Satyanand about what constitutes the economic crisis. On What a Play, Akash and Siddhartha joined by fellow comedian Harmanpreet Singh. They talk about fast bowler Jofra Archer, the India-West Indies series, Ravi Shastri getting reappointed as coach, and a whole lot more. On the Edge and Sledges Cricket Podcast, Ashwin, DJ and Varun discuss the Gale Storm, Shreyas Iyer's beautiful knock, Virat Kohli striking a century, Steve Smith's injury, and a lot more. On The Origin of Things, Chuck narrates a short story about an old brand. It might just be the shortest podcast in IVM history. Check it out. On Marbles Lost and Found, Zen and Avanti are joined by podcast producer Janam Diwan for part 2 of dealing with grief and loss. On Mr. and Mrs. Binge Watch, Anirudh and Janice discuss Netflix originals Glow and Orange is the New Black, which are back with new seasons. On Keeping It Queer, Naveen and Farah talk about the differences and similarities between gay dating and straight dating. Their guest is Mansher Singh, a writer and web series creator. On our Kannada podcast, Thale Arate, Dr. Chandan Gowda joins Surya and Pawan for a conversation on the cultural politics of development in Mysore. This week on the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik Nagarajan talks to the founder of Kriya, Praveen Shekhar, about professional speaking. And with that, let's get you on with your show.
And we're back on IVM Likes. I still have Darus and Antariksh with me. Before we start our conversation round, Saishi just told us in the break that we were talking about Whose Line Is It Anyway? And Aisha Tyler and Wayne Brady, who's one of the cast members on Whose Line, apparently used to date when Aisha Tyler started hosting.
Yeah.
Which would be like
Or
such
have
an
they just
awkward...
broken up?
They had just broken up.
They
They're
just broken up when it started, yeah.
Oh, did I say start dating?
Yeah.
No, I mean stop dating. So yeah, now this makes me want to rewatch those episodes in a whole new light now.
This is the tension.
I look for
Also,
some...
it must be so awkward working with your ex though, man. And it just broke up and I want to still see her every day.
Yeah. Darius, any opinions about that?
I kind of live that life, so I kind of
What?
relate.
What? Who?
Did you break up with someone in office?
What?
Not in office,
Okay.
but like dating, like chilling with your ex. Like, I
Oh,
don't know.
chilling with your ex. I
mean-
thought you worked with an ex. Have you?
But still, it
No,
depends on how much you
You
like her,
thought
right?
very long and hard about that. And you
No,
said
I was just forming the sentence in my mind.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
All right, cool. This episode should probably, the second half should have gone first and the first half should have gone second because it's a Tarantino episode, guys. And if there's something he's known for, it's for non-linear screenplays.
Yeah.
A very, very deep
So we need to cut half
screenwriter
of this,
cut.
put it in the beginning, then the second half of this second half will be
Yeah.
in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, and then there'll be a shootout at the end.
Yes. Nobody, 3 men enter, nobody leaves.
It's kind of I don't know if it's ironic also or not, but Tarantino is known as such a dude bro director, and we have 3 dudes on the show today.
Yeah.
But all 3 of us have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
But before we go there, so how long or how did you get introduced to Tarantino? Just very quickly.
TV. Like,
What was the first thing of
I
his
think
that you
Kill
saw?
Bill was one of the first
Okay.
movies I saw on
Oh,
TV.
yeah.
It just starred on Star Movies,
Right.
and that was the first Tarantino movie that I watched.
Antariksh?
The first Tarantino movie I saw was Death Proof, again on TV. It was coming, I think, on Star Movies or...
Back in the
on
day when Indian TV
Yeah, it
used
used to
to
be cool.
screen
Yeah, correct.
some cool stuff.
Yeah. Death Proof, I fucking loved it. It was great. But
That's,
then I didn't know it was like a Tarantino
Right,
movie.
right.
I just knew the movie because Kurt Russell in it and whatever.
Sure.
And then I got into college, and in college I got introduced to Pulp Fiction very late in my life.
Right.
Like as the span of Pulp Fiction goes, because we've been around for like more than 20 years now.
Yeah.
But I got introduced to it and fell in love. Like Pulp Fiction is a movie that I literally have on my phone at all times. If I ever get bored, I'll just start watching Pulp Fiction. I know entire scenes by heart. I loved.
Can you
the
recite
music.
the entire monologue, Ezekiel 25/7?
Absolutely, dude. Without
No,
a
don't
doubt.
start,
I won't.
okay?
Don't test
This is
me.
about
okay,
Once Upon a
first.
Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. For me also it was Kill Bill Volume 1. I remember that there was a DVD library I used to go to in Bangalore when I was not studying dentistry rather. I used to watch a movie a night, and the DVD guy actually recommended Kill Bill for me, which is very strange because Tarantino himself used to be a video store clerk.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to Tarantino by
By
a video
video
store
clerk. Wow.
clerk. So I saw Kill Bill and I was blown away because it's like 17 movies in one
Yeah.
movie. It's like a kung fu movie,
Yeah.
it's an anime, it's a western and all of that. So I always look forward to a Tarantino film, and this year
always.
was no different. Once Upon a Time.
Did you like the previous one, Hateful Eight? I really
So I'll
liked
come
it.
to that. Let's talk about Once Upon a Time first. It's a film that has been in the news for a very long time. It
Yep.
was supposed to be Tarantino doing the Manson murders.
Yeah.
By the way, we will be spoiling the film in
Yeah,
case you
if you-
haven't seen
yes.
it. So
Spoiler
if
alert.
you haven't seen the film, pause this, download it, and listen to it when you're done watching it. Because we'll be getting into the details of the ending. But overall, let me start by saying what I thought about the film. I thought it's a very unique Tarantino film in that it's a very hangout film. There is no
Yeah.
plot as such for the film.
In a sense, it's a
There is-
feel-good film, kind of, right?
I wouldn't even call it feel good. It's a very
It's a very laid back kind of
laid
movie.
back film. Like if you think of Inglourious Bastards or Django Unchained, there was a propulsive motion driving the film to a point, right? That this person has to do these things, and which is why the sequence of events is leading you to that point.
So would you call this Tarantino's stoner comedy? In a way?
I think this would quintessentially
I don't think it's even that much of a comedy. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It has a hazy psychedelic feel to
correct,
it.
Yeah.
Especially the scenes where he goes to the ranch.
And he smokes meth.
what
is that? No,
acid dip cigarette.
I want to speak about that. You can't smoke acid though. Like
You can.
you can't.
You can.
I believe
You can dip it. You can
Oh my
literally dip it
god.
in the liquid.
Antariksh is offended. It's like, yes, you can.
No, but that's how it works, man. You
No,
just
but
can.
like that releases all the acid and the chemicals that would go in your body. Like it'll just
Really?
burn it away. You can't smoke acid.
Well,
like you can.
only one way to find out if
Let's
it
do
works
it
or
right
not.
now.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna my Nice.
My drug expertise is not as much, but I was about to say the amount of cigarettes these guys smoke throughout the film.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Of course, we watching the film in India, the smoking is injurious to. At one
my
point, I
God.
remember there were 3 different warnings on the screen: alcohol, smoke, and drugs.
At the same time?
At the same time, because he was taking an acid dipped cigarette, so there was a cigarette and there was drugs, and he was drinking, so there was like 3 warnings on the screen. But
they do a weird thing with censorship in India.
Yeah.
I went to watch the movie, and the very first scene where this guy breaks into like these Nazi meeting, and he blow like with the flamethrower. He sets them on fire. So he shouts, "Die, you Nazi bitches!" or whatever he shouts. And I kid you not, they beep the word Nazi.
Really?
Not bitches. In the first scene. In the very next scene, they let Nazi fly.
So in my screening, none of the F words were beeped, but every time they said ass or bastard or so
Makes no
I
sense.
think even the word cock was beeped out.
I
at
heard
one
like
point.
they have cut out some scenes from this movie as well. Like there are some scenes that we
Yeah.
actually didn't get to see.
Okay, this is a tangent, but talking about censorship, there was an episode of, again, totally different things. There was an episode of Friends, and I was watching it on Comedy Central, and I kid you not, they beeped the word condom,
Yeah.
but they showed it in subtitles.
Yeah, they do that.
That's so dumb, dude. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Indian censorship,
yeah.
another episode. But yeah, you were making a point about things being beeped and left out. By the way, the whole Leonardo playing a Nazi killer is himself, Tarantino self-parodying Inglourious Bastards. Yeah.
Sure. Makes sense.
Yeah. So
Also, though, like the acting was incredible. People
Agreed.
some people will like the movie, some people won't, but you cannot say that the acting was bad. The acting was impeccable.
I think the acting was the thing that
Held it together.
kept me
Yeah, because
interested
like
in
I
the
said,
movie.
there is
Yeah.
no such no plot as
not
such
really,
in
yeah.
the film.
Yeah.
So you follow Leonardo, Brad Pitt, and Margot Robbie. And I remember before the film was released, there was a bit of a criticism that Margot Robbie doesn't have a lot of speaking.
Yeah.
Like she didn't
But
have many
I
dialogue.
felt that the
I
character
thought
was
that
great, yeah.
added to
Yeah.
to her role because
correct.
she speaks so little, but
Yeah.
still there's so much she has to do, and the
Correct.
way she expresses what she has to express without
And
words.
I was watching the interviews of the movie before that, and they were saying that Margot Robbie's character, like Sharon Tate's character, was supposed to be like this ray of sunshine.
Yeah.
Which is a ray of sunshine, which is like guiding the movie forward. Which I totally saw in the
Yeah.
movie. I totally agreed. She was like this very colorful thing on. I don't know.
Did you just call her a thing?
She was this colorful plot device
Right.
on screen.
Yeah.
Which was really cool to see.
You know what I liked about the film is that we only see Marilyn Manson. I'm saying Charles Manson is just in just one
Once,
scene.
yeah, correct.
And I was
that scene made the trailer.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I was listening to an interview of Tarantino where he talks about the film, where he said that so there were actually more scenes shot with the Manson character.
Yeah.
But he said that the more he wrote Manson into the script, the more he thought he's justifying what he did. So he just didn't want that at all. And this is a sort of a parallel made in different movies also. So like in Inglourious Bastards, he hates the Nazis, so he shows the Nazis are like stupid people. Like they may be a regime that is very daunting, but at the end of the day, they are pompous assholes. And similarly, he does the same thing, I think, with the Manson family.
And also with Bruce Lee, he did it a bit.
Oh yeah, what did you guys think about the Bruce
You know what?
Lee,
I was a huge Bruce Lee fan, but still I loved this.
Yeah,
I was a huge
it
Bruce
was
Lee
funny.
fan.
Like I
still loved it.
I didn't find anything wrong with it though.
And the sad thing is, like, now Tarantino is going around having to justify as to why he did that. I saw the interview why.
Yeah.
Did you watch this?
I did.
His explanation was that, firstly, you shouldn't have to explain, man. It's art, right? And his interpretation is his interpretation. What people take of it, he's not forcing you to watch it.
Right.
But one of the criticisms was from the Lee family, from Bruce Lee's family. Yeah. And his daughter was like, I don't want to see my dad being depicted as an asshole on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. Like, Tarantino was saying whatever I've read and whatever I've seen of Bruce Lee in his interviews, he is a little bit pompous.
Yeah, he's pompous. You know who else is pompous? Tarantino
himself. Yes. Okay.
My thing was that, so in that particular scene, he gets his ass kicked by Brad Pitt's character, right? But I think then he gets his comeuppance when later on we see him training Sharon Tate for the action scenes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think he kind of gives him that little respite that...
he was very respected still.
Yeah, and I think there is that question, of course, that Cliff Booth, which is Brad Pitt's character, he's remembering this on a rooftop. And Cliff Booth's character is very interesting because he's probably remembering things the way he wants to remember it.
Yeah.
And so you want to hear my hot take on the whole Cliff Booth character?
Yeah, sure.
So there is a rumor going around in the movie that he maybe killed his wife, right? We're never told whether he did it or not.
Correct.
Then we see a very brief flashback of him with his wife on a boat, and his wife is irritating him, and then all we hear is a sound wave and it cuts off, and we don't know whether she fell or and I think that is Tarantino's sort of
Joker
take.
moment.
No, that is Tarantino's take on the whole Me Too movement. And it doesn't matter if the man did it or not. Once it's out there that he maybe did it, then his image kind of precedes it. And I think I don't know, but it's like he worked with Weinstein for like however many years, like Harvey Weinstein.
Correct.
So and Tarantino is now seen as this out of place person, whether times are changing, but he's still doing things he portrays women in a certain way in his films. So I don't know. I just connected the dots there. I'm like, maybe this is his take on. It doesn't matter if he did it or not,
correct.
But
it can be interpreted in that way.
It's out there now. So yeah,
it's really cool, man. I never thought of it like that.
Anyone else have a hot take on Once Upon a Time?
Good movie.
I like the music selection in the movie.
Oh yeah, the music selection.
Dude, I was just gonna bring that up.
Just the scenes of Brad Pitt driving around the city.
Yeah.
There's a point where he plays Hush by Deep Purple. That's a really
Dude, I'm in love with a few songs already. There's a song called Los Bravos in the movie. Is there in the trailer also?
Los Bravos is the band that played the song.
Sorry, the song is Bring a Little Lovin'.
Bring a Little Lovin'.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, the Los Bravos is the band, and it's just so great and catchy, dude. Damn good. He always has he has a knack.
Trying to replay what she just shot on her phone, but let's carry on.
He has a knack. Tarantino has a knack for picking great soundtracks in his movies, dude. Always. And you always go back and listen to these songs and you're like, fuck, these are great songs, dude. How does he find them? How does he have this catalog of music in his mind?
So he's actually spoken about this as well. That he writes scenes to music. Like he listens to a song and then he writes a scene.
Wow.
Which he thinks will justify the music that he's listening to. Instead of it being the other way around.
Like opposite at
the opposite, yeah. He spoke. So I don't know if it's still out there, but there was a version of the Pulp Fiction soundtrack which was released, where at the end it's a 16-minute talk from Tarantino talking about how he chose music for Pulp Fiction, and he says that for him there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. If he listens to a song, like if he likes Bob Vagana, he genuinely loves Bob Vagana and he'll put it in a movie.
Can you make a movie about Bob Vagana? No, please,
well, Mr. Tarantino, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, Bob Vagana also sounds like a mafioso, right? Like a small time
Tarantino character.
Mafia crook. Yeah, exactly.
My name's Bob Vagana. Let's talk about the ending. What do you guys think of the ending? So here's what I think, guys. Since I'm hosting. So for me, the rest of the movie is on one hand, and the ending is on the other. I am not sold on the ending. I'll tell you why. Because I just think it drops all pretense and becomes a facade. Like if it becomes an SNL sketch.
Okay.
Because the moment we see the Manson family in the car planning to kill these people, and from that moment on, it just becomes a farce. Like, oh my God, I forgot the keys. Let me go get the keys. It's a great standalone comedy piece. Like if Tarantino was like, I'm going to direct an SNL sketch about the Manson murders, and if it was this, I'd be like, my God, hilarious. But for me, the film did not lead up to this point.
Were you aware of the whole Sharon Tate and the Manson?
I was, yeah.
So I wasn't that well versed on the story.
Okay, so what did you think of
I thought the movie's end was a little weird because I wanted it to go. I was loving it till that point.
Right.
Like adoring that movie till that point. And then that's why I wanted the end to be a little bit longer.
Okay.
I wanted a little more after that. Because I didn't know that these guys are supposed to break into Sharon Tate's house, which I found out after the movie.
Okay.
And so yeah, like I would have liked to see his interaction with Sharon Tate, or just further in his career or something.
Yeah, even I'm a little mixed on the ending. I feel
I actually don't know what else I would have ideally liked, but I know I would have wanted something a little bit more.
It was a little underwhelming. Like there should have been some sort of closure. Like it just when the movie ended, I was like, oh, is it done?
Right. Huh.
Exactly.
It just felt like that. I feel like if you could.
Did you know about the Sharon Tate murders?
Yeah.
You knew about them.
Yeah.
And were you expecting to see her get murdered?
Yeah,
on screen?
exactly. I thought she would be killed. That's what I had a discussion with Antariksh before as well, and basically it's an alternate plot that they've done.
So again, here's my thing, right? He's been doing this alternate history things for the last 3 movies that he's made.
Correct.
In Inglourious Bastards, he had the Jews kill Hitler. In Django, he had a slave free a plantation, right, and himself. I think in both those cases, right? I mean, in Inglourious Bastards, there are so many things happening that the Hitler dying subplot is almost secondary. Where like, okay, he's done, now let's get back to Hans Landa, who's built as an even more threatening figure than Hitler.
Yeah.
So that's almost done away with and it's gone. In Django, I can believe, okay, maybe there was this one plantation which had a slave who rebelled and actually got his freedom. In this, I think he's deliberately making an alternate history where it's like, they never died. And, you know, this director went on to have a prolific career. You know, so I think it's like back to the futuring the future.
Talking about Leo in the film, you remember those scenes where
the Western,
all those cutaways to Westerns and him doing various things was too cool.
Yeah.
I loved every single one of those moments. But one of those scenes where he's acting with Timothy Olyphant, I think they're sitting in like a saloon, like they talk about those bars, and then he's like, he breaks character in the movie and he goes line. I loved that scene. His acting was so great. His transition from within that character to Rick Dalton and then back into that character was just amazing.
I actually like the follow-up after that scene. So he goes back to his trailer and he has this really
suicidal
mental breakdown.
Loved it.
I was like, relatable.
And that little girl was so cool.
Oh yeah, she was
damn
really
awesome.
good.
Yeah, like this is the best acting I've ever seen, and he starts crying. That's awesome.
Yeah. But you see what he's done, right? I mean, he actually shows you the scene as it's supposed to be seen.
Correct. Yeah.
And that show is actually a real show that existed in the 60s.
Really?
Whoa.
And I've heard podcasts where people said that show wasn't that good. So this is Tarantino telling you that
better.
like if you saw Shaktiman as a kid, it's a shit show, but for you back then it was the most amazing thing ever, right?
Correct.
So when you show how you perceived that thing, so for Tarantino that was like the most serious, most elegantly made thing in the world, but objectively it was a badly made Western. So yeah, that's one point of view.
That's really cool.
Cool. Let's do our top 5 Tarantino. We want to do top 3? What do you want to do?
Top 5 works.
Top 5, cool. So how do we do this?
5,
all of
4,
us,
3 to 1. Right.
All of us give our 5. All of us give our 5 to 1.
Okay.
Let's do all of us. Let's start with 5. Antariksh, what's your number 5?
Number 5, I will have to say.
You're just making the list.
I'm just making the list right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I know what my number 1, 2, 3 are. I can't think about my 5.
Do you have a number 5, Darus?
I've only seen 5 Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
So I'm guessing.
Okay, number
perfect.
5. Number 5 will be Reservoir Dogs.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I would have put it up there, but then I making this list, I realized, dude, he has some great.
That's true.
How are you gonna So yeah, Reservoir Dogs is good. Number 5.
Wait, I was picking the worst movie, like Kill Bill 2. So number 5, I would give Kill Bill Volume 1.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Kill Bill Volume 1 was pretty good though.
Yeah.
Again, all his movies are pretty good.
Yeah, that's the
That's the thing.
yeah.
So you had Reservoir Dogs at number 5,
Yeah.
Antariksh. Mine is also Reservoir Dogs, actually.
Hey! That movie sucks.
It doesn't suck, but it hasn't
great,
aged very well. I saw it very recently.
Kaante.
Also Kaante. Yeah, did it have Jaane Kya Hoga Rama Re? No, it didn't. Did it have Sanjay Dutt playing with his knife? No, he didn't. I'll tell you what still Reservoir Dogs, what I still like about the film, and I saw the film like 5 days ago as soon as I watched Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
It's still the tension in the film that the bank robbery has gone wrong and oh my god, we might get caught.
Yeah,
it's a 93-minute film.
I agree.
I think all of Tarantino's latest films have been very bloated. They're 2.5, 3 hours long. I don't think, especially Hateful Eight, could have done with some, major cutting.
You know what?
What? That's your number 1?
No, Hateful Eight is actually there in my list. It's
in
good.
your top 5?
My number 4 is Hateful Eight.
Oh,
I really
great
like that
segue.
movie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my third least favorite Tarantino film.
Really?
Tell me why you
I
love
loved it because it's again a western that he does westerns really well. It's based in snow. That was the whole backdrop where they can't get out of the house.
True, yeah.
Out of the barn.
Again,
is
tension.
Great. Yeah, tension is great. And dude, the actors he got for that movie. The Samuel L. Channing Tatum has a cameo, not a cameo, more than a cameo, but then Kurt Russell shows up.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
Tim Roth is in the movie.
Tim Roth is in the movie. The guy from Reservoir Dogs with Vincent Dada Vega. I forgot his name.
We should be good with names. One second.
But yeah, like the movie was great, man. That actress who was nominated for the
that actor.
the Oscar, I don't know the names.
I'll Google them. Michael Madsen is
correct. Michael Madsen,
the actor you're talking about. Jennifer Jason Leigh
Yes,
she is the only female who holds up really well in a room full of.
Correct.
I think there are two female characters
and that,
who holds up really well in a room full of men.
I remember that great moment in the movie where Samuel L. Jackson's character is talking to that old man. Again, I'm just gonna say that thing, that girl, that old man who is there.
Buffs, can't you tell?
Yeah.
He's just sitting there in the barn, and apparently it turns out that Samuel L. Jackson killed that guy's son. You remember this?
Spoilers, guys, for Hateful Eight.
Again,
I haven't seen Hateful Eight. It's not one of my five.
Well, but that whole scene just was so well done, and
the old guy being Bruce Dern, guys. Yeah.
But a lot of people do give a lot of hate to Hateful Eight. Because it's easy to hate something which has hate in the name. So
I just think it was bloated, it was overlong. It has some great performances, yes, but instead of a 3-hour film, it could have easily been like a 2-hour film.
Okay, I like the slow burns in Tarantino films. I like it. Again, as I said, like
there's slow burn and then there's just stretching gum out till it's torn.
Correct. Again, that's what I said though, right? Like that, I would have liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to have been longer a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
I wanted to see a little bit more after that.
I think the ending made you feel that you wanted it to be longer.
That's
I feel like if it had a perfect ending, it would have been like,
this was great.
This was longer than I expected.
Correct.
What's your number 4, Darus?
My number 4 is Reservoir Dogs.
Oh, he's put it a place above both of us.
Yeah, I liked Reservoir Dogs. I feel like there was a good build-up. I mean, you kind of knew who what was it? The
cop.
The cop was the undercover cop in it. But I loved the build-up. I loved how everyone was just trying to rat each other out.
Right, yeah.
And which led to that Mexican standoff and everyone just basically killing themselves.
Right.
And I like that movie. Yeah.
Nice.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Jackie Brown.
Oh, nice.
So, I believe neither of you have seen Jackie Brown.
No.
So, Jackie Brown, I think, is his most mature film yet. And yet, it's in that same oeuvre of gangster films.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's not as hyper as Reservoir Dogs. It's not as sort of brilliant as Pulp Fiction. It sits pretty much very comfortably in between the both of them. I think it's a very good film. Actually, I think you might like it. If you like a slow burn, you will like Jackie Brown. Again, the music is really good used in the movie. And Jackie Brown was one of those films when I saw it first, I didn't really like it. But the more I've seen it, the more I've sort of learned to like it. And again, a killer performance by Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
Number 3, I'm thinking between either Django or Death Proof. I really love both.
You know,
of them.
Django and Death Proof are my 9 and 10. in
What are you
the
saying,
Tarantino
dude?
pantheon, yeah.
Death Proof also?
Death Proof is, number 9 for me.
Death Proof was badass.
Abbas is
dude.
going to be bummed because Django is number 3 for me then.
For you too?
Hey,
Okay.
also-
Django is my least favorite Tarantino film.
I love that
And I was speaking to Darus before. Why am I forgetting your name today?
I don't know, man.
Before we started recording, I think it's not as much a Tarantino thing for Django Unchained. I'm not a big fan of Jamie Foxx.
Oh, really? I love
So,
Jamie
yeah.
Foxx.
So, yeah, maybe that
adore
has to do
Jamie
it.
Foxx. Okay,
But
what's your...
both of you have Django at number
yeah,
3. Okay,
yeah.
my number 3 is Pulp Fiction.
Hey!
Yeah, I think, need not say much. Everything about the film is iconic.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I think it's the most rewatchable Tarantino film.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have it on your phone all the time. So
yeah,
even if I'm watching it from the middle of the film,
Yeah.
I'm watch it
Yeah.
till the end.
Yeah.
Great cast. It just
Great
redefined everything about
That
cinema.
Christopher Walken scene, dude.
Yeah,
With
the watch
gold
scene.
watch.
Yeah.
This watch!
Antariksh also a great impersonator, by the way. He was impersonating various comedians for me last night.
One of our IVM hosts I can impersonate pretty well.
Who?
Naveen Narona.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Do Naveen doing Tarantino rating?
Okay. So my favorite movie is I would say my second favorite
Tarantino film.
So my second favorite Tarantino film that became a little Farhan Akhtar, I think. I can do Farhan Akhtar and Naveen in the same answer.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah. But as Antariksh, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Inglourious Bastards.
Ooh, close.
That's a great film.
That's
Everyone
a great
will say
film.
yes.
I can
And,
see why you're leading up to number 1.
Yes, of
Is it
course.
the movie on your phone?
Yes, it is. That is the one, yes.
What about you, Darus?
Number 2. I just realized I just seen 4 movies.
You've just seen 4 Tarantino movies? You're gonna make one up now.
I'm gonna make one. So this amazing number 2 spot that I picked is Pulp Fiction.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Nice.
Love that movie. Dude.
I'm taking by now, we can take it for granted that Once Upon a Time did not make any
No,
of our
no,
top
no.
I'd
five.
say Once Upon a Time is quintessentially the least Tarantino movie.
Ooh, I wouldn't quite say that. I put it at number 7 on my list of top 10. So I've put Hateful Eight, Death Proof and Django all below Once Upon a Time.
So weird. We have all different views on all of it. It's just
Yeah.
scattered
It's
all
scattered
all
all.
around.
Like Tarantino's movies.
So you said your number 2 was?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, okay.
Yeah.
Want to say something about Pulp
It's
Fiction?
a very easy watchable movie, very laid back. The lines, the dialogue,
dialogue,
also is
yeah.
also so easy,
So great.
like very quote-worthy dialogues. Yeah, it's a very
Nice.
chill movie.
My number 2 is Kill Bill Volume 1.
Oh, nice.
It's the film that introduced me to Tarantino,
Yeah,
like I said
okay,
at the top
okay,
of the
okay.
discussion. I saw Kill Bill Volume 1 and I wanted to see every film ever made, whether it was a Kung Fu movie, whether it was a French
Nice,
New
I
Wave
get it.
film, whether it was a, Western.
That
So-
movie ignited your love for movies.
ignited my love for movies. So for me, that will always be special. Kill Bill Volume 1. I think Volume 2 is very different tonally from Volume 1. I think Volume 1 is a superior film.
Okay.
They both work well in unison. Tarantino himself considers both of them as one film, but I don't. I think Volume 2 is a different film. So for me, Kill Bill Volume 1 is 2.
You think he considers them as one film so that he can make one more film? Because he says he's making 10.
Yeah. Maybe he's actually teased making a Kill Bill Volume 3 with the daughter.
So again, see, that's
When-
why excuses.
when was the
Like,
last
all
Kill
3
Bill
of them are
release,
one
though?
movie.
The last,
Yeah,
when
was it released?
both of them were
Years
released
back.
6 months apart in 2003.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, see, that's what
It
you
was,
do.
it was supposed to be one film, but then Miramax was like, nobody will buy a 3.5 hour film.
Okay.
So you better chop it up in 2. So he did that.
I thought it was a very offensive joke.
No, it's okay. You can, we'll
cut
just
it
say
out?
it. We'll cut it out if it's too offensive.
Miramax wanted to cut it in 2 because Weinstein needed more actresses in his rooms and casting roles.
Boom. This will land up somewhere in the vault of IVM.
The archive.
So let's do the drum roll. What's
Yes.
our number 1?
Mine is what is that? How does it start? Wait. Pulp Fiction.
Good thing you clarified.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. want to say 2 lines about Pulp Fiction?
Dude, greatest
It's
movie
always on
ever.
your phone. Apart
It's
from
always
that.
on my phone. I'll play scenes from it right now if you want, dude.
No, it's okay.
One of my favorite parts in the movie is when after Samuel Jackson's great, the big speech in the first scene.
Yeah.
After he shoots Brett.
Does he look like a bitch?
Yeah, does he? Why trying to f him like a bitch, Brett? Yeah, so while they shoot Vincent and Samuel Jules shoot the guy. And the very next scene is Marcellus.
Talking to Bruce
Talking
Willis.
to Bruce Willis. I love
With
the
the
transition
song
there.
playing in the background.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that song, dude. So great. And I know that. I love that speech. Like, I think you're going to find, when all this shit is done, I think you're going to find yourself one smiling motherfucker.
He's probably one of the best directors to direct monologues.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he
without
just
a doubt.
knows how to hold
For sure. Yeah.
hold the screen. What about you, Darus? What's your number one?
My number one would be Inglourious Bastards.
Ooh, nice.
You know what? I definitely will agree is superior in Inglourious Basterds and in Pulp Fiction is Pulp Fiction has that very irritating French chick.
Pulp Fiction?
Like,
oh, yeah.
the Bruce Willis
Zed's
lover.
dead?
No,
Zed's
Bruce Willis
dead,
lover.
baby.
No, that's a great line.
No, I mean...
You know, Zed's Dead is an artist's name. There's a band called Zed's Dead.
You mean the girl
Like
who
Double
Bruce
Z?
The girl
Willis-
Bruce Willis is dating in the movie.
Who
This
has
is
a
so
very
irritating.
wonderful line about sensation or touching or something like that. But anyway, why do you find her irritating?
That whole like plot line I will mostly skip past that plot line because I don't know, that seems like a slower part in otherwise like this happening movie. But I understand why Tarantino would have put it there because it's a slow part in an otherwise happening movie. So I need some downtime,
Nice.
yes.
My number one is also Inglourious Bastards. I think that's the peak of Tarantino. I think he built up to the peak from his 90s films, Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Kill Bill was there, and then he hit peak with Inglourious, and I think since then he's been kind of on
Coming down.
I won't say decline, but he's been doing his own thing. He's been making films that he wants to make. I think Inglourious was everything about a Tarantino film that's good about a Tarantino
You're
film.
saying Tarantino is going through his M. Night Shyamalan phase, but his M. Night Shyamalan phase is still excellent.
Better, yes.
Yeah, so that's a problem.
I mean, I remember. So I had Inglourious Basterds came out in 2009. I had gotten knee deep into Tarantino in about 2008. So I was really looking forward to Inglourious when it was about to release.
Nice.
And it met all my expectations. I mean, the casting of the entire film. Where did he find Christoph Waltz? I do
Correct.
not know.
Correct.
But thank the gods he did.
And his performance as well.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is amazing.
That first scene,
the
dude,
starting scene
that
of
scene.
That
Inglourious
scene
Basterds
alone
just-
is
I think,
like
yeah,
a movie
can't-
on
correct,
its own.
you can't top that.
I think
yeah.
it's also like Tarantino is great at opening scenes, right? He knows how to capture an audience's attention. So he's great at those, man. He always hits the spot with those.
The fact that I've seen a theater full of people sit and watch a film that's like 70% in German
Yeah,
and
wow.
French
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all languages apart from English and with subtitles, and that whole tavern scene that's like right in the middle
one
of
with
the
Michael
film.
Fassbender?
Yeah, with the Michael
Love
Fassbender where
that
he's just
scene.
building
Oh,
to
dude.
the tension, and finally it breaks.
Yeah.
The way it's an ode to the Second World War, yet for the love of movies, because the climax takes place in a movie hall, and just every single thing of the music. Shoshana getting dressed in red with a David Bowie song playing from the 80s in a film that's set in the 40s.
Wow.
Like, it's just everything about that film is magnificent. I think that's easily till now Tarantino's peak for me. So yeah.
So want to just count down all our fives and then...
Sure. So my 5 was Reservoir Dogs. My number 4 was Jackie Brown. My number 3 was Pulp Fiction. My number 2 was Kill Bill Volume 1. And my number 1 was Inglourious Bastards. I think Pulp Fiction is the one that made it to all 3 of our lists.
I think it's that kind of movie that it's so
Yeah.
casually just added to.
Yes, it's true. Antariksh, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am. Just... I forgot what my number 4 was.
I'm trying to look at my-
Okay, yeah, number 5 was Reservoir Dogs. Number 4 was Hateful Eight. I forgot what I said. It's Hateful Eight now. Number 3 is Django and Death Proof. Yeah, I was right. Hateful Eight, number 4. Number 3 is Django and Death Proof. Number 2 is Inglourious Bastards. And number 1 is Pulp Fiction, baby!
Even your 1 and 2 Inglourious and Pulp, weren't they?
Yeah, I think number 5 was Kill Bill Volume 1. Number 4 was Reservoir Dogs. Number 3, Django Unchained. Number 2, Pulp Fiction. And number 1, Inglourious Bastards.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So that was our list of our top 5 Tarantino films. Please send us your list. Tell us what you thought of what is the film we discussed? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Darus was just mentioning that we totally skipped the fetish of Tarantino, foot fetish. So if you want to drop in the mail to our office with your feet, please do that.
Please don't send us images of your feet as well. It's just
so that was our episode this week. I hope you had fun. If there's anything you want us to talk about, please send your recommendations in to us. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. You can follow us personally on our social media handles. My handle on Twitter is Abbas Momin, and on Instagram it's Abbas Momin88. Antariksh.
You can find me on Instagram at Antariksh T, ANTARIKSHT.
I thought you were spelling Tarantino for a second, but you weren't.
That's a long, might as well have one.
Darus,
you can find me on Instagram. DARUS, DSOUZA, Darus D'Souza on Instagram.
The J is silent.
Yeah. And I'm not much on Twitter, so just follow me.
His actual spelling is DJRUS, but the J is silent, guys. Yeah. Get it? Please laugh. I'm trying to crack a joke here.
My actual initials are Darus Edwin D'Souza, so it's like DED. Yeah.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah, just like my soul. Just like my soul, yeah.
Our producer just yelled something out. What is it, Saishri? He's dead on the inside, is it? Oh, nice. Zed's dead, baby.
Zed's dead.
All right, we'll see you next week on another episode. Till then, bye-bye.
See you.
Did you know that Parsis in Mumbai, instead of being left at the Tower of Silence after they die, are now cremated? And why? Because a cow fell sick in the early 1990s. Did you know that the smog in Delhi is caused by something that farmers in Punjab do, and that there's no way to stop them? Did you know that there wasn't one gas tragedy in Bhopal, but 3? One of them was seen, but 2 were unseen. Did you know that many well-intentioned government policies hurt the people they're supposed to help? Why was demonetization a bad idea? How should GST have been implemented? Why are all our politicians so corrupt when not all of them are bad people? I'm Amit Verma, and in my weekly podcast, The Seen and the Unseen, I take a shot at answering all these questions and many more. I aim to go beyond the seen and show you the unseen effects of public policy and private action. I speak to experts on economics, political philosophy, cognitive neuroscience, and constitutional law so that the insights can blow not only my mind, but also yours. The Seen and the Unseen releases every Monday. So do check out the archives and follow the show at seenunseen.in. You can also subscribe to The Seen and the Unseen on whatever podcast app you happen to prefer.
Hey, this is Shudaditya.
And I'm Amit Doshi.
And we host Shunya One.
It's a really fun podcast where we talk to some of the best entrepreneurs in the country.
Yes, talking about everything from their startup challenges to what they're building and all the future of technology right here.
So catch us on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you listen to your podcast from.